is Chris Knutson. Some of you have at least met me or talked to me or something along those lines. I'm the esports director up at Augustana University in Sioux Falls. And today, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about recruiting. Specifically, it's titled like how you can get your students recruited. So I'm going to give you information on that, things that students might be looking for, as well as kind of give you a perspective on my process, what I'm thinking about, or what another college director would think about. Give you a quick, brief background on myself, hopefully why you should listen to me. I've been working in the esports industry for over a decade now. I started as a tournament administrator for a volunteer organization for Heroes of the Storm. Anybody remembers that game? Awesome. So at the time, there were 4 different volunteer groups that ran a tournament every week. So there was 4 nights a week that I was adminning for tournaments, talking to people, making sure everything ran smoothly. The spring of the next year, all 4 of them merged down to one called Heroes Hype. That was like the biggest of the 4. And I became the director of broadcasting. So I ran the weekly live streams. I ran a lot of the content that went up on YouTube. Talked with on-air talent, our social team, our marketing team, anything like that. 2017, we partnered with some of the premier Heroes orgs, so like Tempo Storm. If anyone's familiar with Hearthstone, you're more likely to know who they are. Things like that, and that led to us partnering with Blizzard themselves in 2018. So we ran their Path to Pro leagues, both in Europe and North America, and we would have 2 streams going per week. One was us, we ran that one, and then the other one was usually a premier commentator caster. If anyone's ever heard of Grubby before, he's a big Warcraft 3 guy. We worked with him. And then I was lucky enough to be hired on as the statistician for their live broadcast at the HGC finals at BlizzCon. So I was working on the broadcast team, working very closely with the graphics team, making sure everything worked well and we could tell a good story, because that was kind of the big thing for their talent. That's a quick picture of us after the 2018 finals. It's a lot smaller than I hoped it to be, but I'm right there in the purple and black jersey. All right, I joined Augustana in 2023. The program itself started in 22. I was hired on as the team manager, so we just had our League of Legends team at the time. So 6 students, and my job was, I was basically their dad. I'm making sure they're showing up to their appointments, signed up for their things. The next year I became the director, both of these part-time. So my goal that year, and even the previous year, was to build into a Valorant team, a Rocket League team, just seeing what we had. It's really hard to do that when you're not on campus. I will tell you that right now. But luckily enough, we found students that were interested in both. So by the beginning of 24, we had all 3 of our teams competing. Going into this year, we had to kind of roll over everything because a lot of people left. But we got all 3 teams active. We have gone from 17 at the end of last year to 50 this year, which is pretty incredible, especially with my first full year of full-time work. I recruit students now. We're adding 3 new games this coming year, Rivals, Smash, and Overwatch, which I'm really excited for. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what happens next year. Please don't mind me drinking water. I don't speak a lot. All right, to kind of give you a perspective of what I do on a day-to-day basis, how I look at things. First thing that I really do is think about what students will fit at Augustana. So I am creating a profile. Let's say I find a student who's really good at League of Legends. I want to consider them to come to Augustana. Well, what are they looking for? What kind of niches does Augustana fill for them? Because I'm looking at it both, do I want them, and also do they want us? It's a 2-way street, essentially. So I do that really to manage my time effectively, because if I'm going after a student that I know will not work for us, I'm wasting my time. You know, my time is valuable. The student's time is valuable. I want them to get to the best spot that they can. So I'm also building authentic, purposeful relationships with the players and you guys as coaches and managers. Really, because I want to be the place that you guys want to send students to, because you know our culture is great. You know, people supporting us are there, strong, and consistently thinking about how we can improve. I don't want to be the place that you know nothing about, really. I am working to maintain consistent communication with the students and you guys. So students especially, I'm looking at emails, setting up phone calls every other week. If I'm actively pursuing them, if I'm just sending feelers out, I'll send probably 1 or 2 a month, something like that. But I'm sure you guys know very well that high school students and even college students need to have their hands held. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything. So I set very specific deadlines. I'm using very, very clear instructions, like I need to have you have this done by this day, or I'm not going to consider it at all. Because otherwise, they don't do it. They procrastinate the whole time. And again, it just wastes our time, which we don't want. We want to have effective use of our time. So what does recruiting look like? I'm scouting early. I'm looking 2+ years ahead. We've got now 6 teams coming up next year, and I have to be thinking about recruiting for all of them. And I'm not looking essentially to fill a spot. I'm looking just to see who fits the program the best. So even if I am full on Valor players, I'm still going to be looking at Valor players. I'm identifying them as soon as sophomore year, sometimes even freshman year. I'm not going to actively pursue them as a freshman because they're not looking at college yet. But you know, right around the end of sophomore year, beginning of junior year, that's when I really start looking at things hard. Communicating with my admissions department is huge. I know Augustana specifically, other schools might be different or similar. We are really aggressive in terms of for the admissions team. We have a goal of getting to 3,000 students by the end of 2030, and right now with college recruitment, that's kind of the opposite of the trend. A lot of schools are going down in number, while Argy has, I think, the last 5 years always gone up, which is awesome. But admissions also really loves to show off anything and everything that can get a student to come here. So esports being a newer thing, that's something that they can offer students that they haven't been able to before. We have a simple checkbox on the recruit form for Augustana. Like if you are interested in esports, I get a notification about that. Then I can send out an email to start communication with them because I have their email, I have their other contact information. But again, admissions is huge. Even when they give tours on campus, they're showing off the esports stuff. A lot of my week is watching VODs and live streams. Fenworks is a great resource for me. If any of you guys are streaming your own esports matches, I'm watching those. Probably not live stream, especially because it's like at 6, 7 o'clock at night. I'm at home. If I can find them, individual game streams are my favorite because I get to see the student in their natural habitat at home usually, and I also get to hear comms. I don't get to hear that with other streams because then I can assess how good their communication skills are, how good their game awareness is, things like that. This is probably the hardest part also for esports recruiting because I'm trying to get it to a point where we are as close to traditional sports as possible. I'm trying to set that standard for ourselves. I know other college directors are doing the same thing. But there's just surprisingly not as consistent of content for esports as there is for any other traditional sport. Plus, we're not going to the school to watch the students as often. Like football scout, from Alabama is going to travel the country. One, because they have a budget to do that. I don't. And two, because things are a lot more consistent. One thing that I love about Fenwick so far has been they're always consistent. College is not at all. Things get rescheduled probably at least once a week. I'm connecting with you guys all the time. I know I have sent at least one email to every single coach or manager in high school last year. At least one. Probably more than one. South Dakota is nice and easy because the High School Activities Association website has every single school listed, and then I can just email them. It's a lot easier. But my goal is to build a strong relationship with you guys, to be able to just talk. If you have a student that you think is worth looking at, I'll gladly take a look. You guys are the ones that vet them, really, before anybody else. If you know that they have behavior issues, you know that they're, or on the other end, you know, they're great to work with. Their work ethic is really strong. You know, we want to know those things because all I see is them pushing the buttons, and that's about it. And then after I talk to you guys, I really like to have coaches or managers be the first point of contact. Then I will talk to them. So I am usually emailing. I don't like to use Discord. I know South Dakota, I think you guys don't use it at all. That's just been the most common way people connect with each other. I would rather use email or phone calls. One, it's an official space. Like Augustana has our own email server, so everything's saved there. And phone calls are a little bit more of a casual way to do that. But once I get to that point, I am giving them my pitch, essentially, like, what is Augustana Esports about? What is Augustana about? Is this a good fit for you? Is this a good fit for me? But I keep it short at the beginning, and then we get longer talks as we go, because I don't want to give a dissertation the first time it meets, but, you know, they're not going to respond well to that. All right. These are some things that students can do. As we talked about in the previous slide, content is huge. The more and more content that they are producing, the more likely that they are of getting noticed. So if they can create a VOD archive, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch, I know for Twitch it doesn't automatically save your VODs. I think you have to turn it on. That is how I can most easily find something. What I really love is if they can highlight their communication skills, make sure that their microphone is on so I can hear them, how their thought process works, how they're communicating with their team, if they're being positive, reinforcing their team, or if they're being negative. You know, that's a green flag, red flag kind of thing. If they want to produce a couple-minute highlight reel, so like Valorant, they're doing a highlight reel of their Jet gameplay, specifically like how they enter a site, something like that. And then going back to the bot thing, they don't have to be super specific, hyper detailed, as long as they name it like Trundle gameplay or something like that. That way I know what character they're playing. That helps me a lot, because then I know, one, what role they're playing, and two, what their job is. Social presence is pretty important in the esports space. Twitter is probably the biggest platform for anything. Not as many people use Instagram, LinkedIn, anything like that. If you are in esports, you most likely have a Twitter account. But they can just post all of their content on there, tag any collegiate program that has a Twitter account, which they should, and say, hey, look at me. And at least for the bigger programs, they will have a social media manager. They'll send it to the coach or director of the game, and then they'll watch it. They need to maintain a professional tone at all times. It's kind of like if the job interviewer is looking at your Facebook page. It's the exact same thing. If they see anything that would come up as a red flag, someone's being toxic, or you're going after somebody for no reason at all other than just being aggressive, I'm immediately taking you off the list. But you can also just share any achievements, any tournament results. Like, hey, I just won the Fenwick State Tournament. This is a picture of me and my team. This is the VOD, something like that. Or like, I just hit Masters. And that's a pretty significant accomplishment to share. And then they can just email me directly or text me even. My phone number is on the Augustana website. I'm not going to answer a phone call just because I'm a millennial. So, but if they have any questions, we have a recruitment form linked on the website, either with a QR code or a form link. They can just submit it. Just, hey, I submitted your recruitment form. Could you please take a look at it? Kind of thing. They can do an esports resume. Really, that's just these things. First 2 points, that's their resume. They don't have to have like a cover letter or anything like that. Unless they want to practice, they're more than welcome to do that. Most college programs will have a Discord server of some kind. I know we do. It's pretty active. We also have open houses, game nights every now and then. Do watch parties like the League of Legends Worlds Watch Party is probably the biggest thing that we do every year. They're more than welcome to come to that, but they need to be in the Discord to know when it's happening. So, all right. Last thing on this slide, being online, safety is a concern. So never posting name, home address, phone number. The only thing I'll say, I would recommend against putting your school, but if it's important to the context of the video that they're doing, like they're posting a VOD of their match, let's say like Harrisburg's playing Aberdeen, that would be important information to know. That's really the only time I would say add that. And then anytime they're talking to a recruiter, me, any other college director, keep those chats vetted. Let you guys know it's really important, or let their parents know. As long as somebody knows that they're talking to somebody, that's the most important. Good. All right. So these are the things that students are usually looking for. The first question that people usually ask is, what are you looking to study? So what are the majors, what are the minors that a school offers? I attended a eSport clinic conference last month in Akron, Ohio, and they had a recruitment day for high schoolers. They brought in people from all across the country. I know there was a few from North Dakota there. I talked to one girl who was looking specifically for an aviation program, which is pretty niche. So I knew Augustana's probably not going to fit, but I still wanted to talk to her, get an idea of what she was looking for outside of that. Because, maybe there's other things that she wants that Augie would offer. Class sizes. Is it a giant school like U of M, or is it smaller? Augustana for 2,600 students, so on the smaller side. Usually classes won't go above 40. That's for like Bio 101 kind of thing. Once you get into the higher courses, like I had a class where I had 3 students this past year. So things happen. What research opportunities or study abroad opportunities do they have? Can they go to another country for a semester and study? Can they go to a place that they've never been to before, or would probably not ever have the opportunity otherwise to go to? Like, I know I'm leading a class this January. We're going to South Korea to learn with Genji. Anybody's familiar with them? On pretty much any topic related to esports, although I'm told it's very generalized now. They've changed it a little bit. And then what kind of advisor support does a school have? Are they really helping the students achieve academic success throughout their time at the school? Financial value is a question that you can always flip with the first one, because how much is this going to cost me versus what I'm getting out of it? Is it worth my money and my time comparing the tuition costs, scholarship, grants, any work study options that they could make money, helping offset that grand total. So like when they're looking at schools, Auggie's a bit on the higher side. We're a private institution, so we're in the 40s, I think, now for cost. Whereas other state schools in South Dakota, not nearly as much. Like I went to Dakota State, I think it was about 20 at the time. That was 10 years ago. That's just an important question that both them and their parents are going to talk about. What is campus like? This is the first time many of them are going to be living away from home. So are they going to feel included? Are they going to feel welcome? What opportunities do they have to be social? What are the residence halls like? Are they recently updated? Are they ancient and built in the 1700s? I've been to a couple of those. Student organizations, like Augie has a fermentation club, learning how to brew beer. Some students are really interested in that. Little weird that they can't drink it later. But, what's the dining options like? Is the food good? You can usually ask other students when you're touring on campus, and they'll tell you. Intramural opportunities. I know we have our athletics, we have our club sports, but if they want to just pick a game of basketball going for a league, is that an option for them? And then what's the community environment like? Is it inclusive? Does it meet their needs? I'm speaking a lot about Augie because that's what I know. But we welcome people from all walks of life. I know I do that in my program specifically too. It is a Lutheran school, but people from all faiths come to understand it. So inclusivity is one of the core values of the school. Where is the school located? Is it in a big metropolitan area with over 1 million people? Is it in a town of 2,000 people? What's important to them? Do they want to be in classes with 100 people? Do they want to be in classes with 10? One of the things that Augustana is really nice for is it's in Sioux Falls, which is the biggest city pretty much to Minneapolis, Omaha, or Denver, or Kansas City. I forget Kansas City is closer to us than Denver is sometimes. But there's still enough to do in Sioux Falls that they're not going to get bored. I know I went to school at Dakota State, Madison, and I was regularly going back down to Sioux Falls if I wanted to do it. Last thing I'll mention on location is the commute. If they are commuting to school, is it a long drive? Last year I was at Dakota State. I lived in Sioux Falls. I was commuting every day, so an hour both ways. And then lastly, career pathways. What's the career center like at the school? What's the graduation rate, the job placement rate? Those are things that they look at. They probably don't really think about them until they're closer to graduating college. But what are the development networks? How can they get in touch with businesses that they want to work at? Because it is really who you know in the professional career field. And then hands-on internship integration. One of the things that I love about working in our media production program, for the record, I teach video editing on top of my esports responsibilities. We have a job opportunities fair at the beginning of every year, so we bring in production companies from all over the area to talk to the students and say, hey, you can get paid doing this, that. We have like the Washington Pavilion come in and say, hey, you can come work as a stagehand or light booth for X amount of dollars an hour. Things they might not be thinking about, but then they can get their foot in. Lastly, about safety and accessibility. How are the health services at the school? Like we have an on-call nurse every day for 9 to 5, and we live 2 minutes from a hospital. What is the campus safety like? I'm sure you can just look up Google reviews for these. But if students don't feel safe walking from their dorm to the classroom, that might not be a school that they want to go to. So And then if a student has a disability, wheelchair, or some sort of other physical or mental disability, does the school support that? What do they do to support that and make them feel good? All right. Lastly, for you guys, how can you help them get recruited? We talked about a little bit about vouching for them, verifying them. So, like, I'm watching a Benworth stream and I see this guy popping off as the blonde at midnight, and all I know is their gamer tag, but I know they're from Roosevelt. And I'm going to email Kevin and say, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this person? You are their primary reference for anyone that messages you guys. You can confirm their attitude, how they're working. Do they work well with the team? Because if there's interpersonal issues, we want to know about that. Keeping organized team rosters is helpful for us. It's going to help you guys too. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, do that already. But this way, it's just a, hey, I'm looking for Noob Slayer 69. Can you tell me who that is? Tell me about them. And you're like, oh yeah, that's Jeff. He's our bot leader. He's a great guy. And then helping the students compile and review their own gameplay bots. One, that helps enhance their skills. Two, it's getting content up on YouTube or another platform. And then it's also helping them with their game awareness, their decision making, both things that help them in the collegiate space. Direct networking. You guys can reach out to me anytime. I check my email probably more than I should. My wife sometimes says I need to chill. But just reach out to me and pitch a student to me. Say, hey, I've got this Overwatch player that is fantastic, and I think he really wants to, or she really wants to compete at a higher level in college. Why don't you take a look at her and you send me a stream or a bot from that week's match. You can do the same thing as your students. Get into our Discord servers, attend our open houses, our live events. I'll be there all the time. Just talk to me. I'm more than happy to sit down with you. You can also invite any college director, and they will make time for you if you want them to come talk to your students. I will, within some reason, drive to any school in the state. It really depends on the timing, not necessarily the distance. Like 5 hours is not that long of a drive for me, but it's like, do I have other responsibilities at school? That's the kind of thing. But then I can tell them about, what opportunities do they have at Augustana? What are the requirements that we have? What scholarships do we offer? That kind of thing. Then you can kind of prep them for the pathway to college. So ensuring students are maintaining a GPA required for college. One, colleges will have a GPA minimum. They might not advertise it. They will. But then on top of that, an esports program might have something different. So, like for example, a school might have a 2.0 GPA requirement to get in, but then our esports teams require 2.5. So if they come in, they want to play, they have to have that. We also have a scholarship that requires a 3.0 maintained. And then to go along with that, once they're in the program, if they fall below that, they're not playing until they get back up because they are a student athlete. Students come first. Helping the players organize their resume, featuring all of the most important things for us. It's a really great thing to help them with. Really, because you are an outside perspective for them. They're not going to think. And you can remind them, hey, you have this, you could show them. Why do you include that? And then organize tryouts. I come in every fall and I'm trying out new students with my coaches. It's like a 2 or 3 week process. You can help them kind of get ready for that, and that way they're not as nervous, they'll perform better. They know what to expect. And just another note, make sure that you're aware of any communication. Again, at least for me, you guys are my first point of contact. That might not be the same for every director. I know there are channels that high schoolers can put themselves up, and then colleges can directly reach out to them. I don't necessarily like that, but that will happen. And then just make sure that they're done in a transparent school channel. So I don't know how many schools offer this. I know at least for all schools, students have their own school email. So I would always suggest them using that. That way, someone has an eye on it and knows what they're talking about. And then just make sure they're not sharing private information that doesn't need to be shared. All right. I left some time for questions if you guys have any. Hopefully you guys do. The bullet points there are just kind of highlights from what I talked about. If you have any thoughts on recruitment timelines, pods, relations with me or another director, and then safety, or anything you might have. So, thank you guys.
So for portfolios, do you have like a preferred way of students like building a portfolio for you that's worked well in the past, I guess?
The biggest thing is that mod library, essentially.
Yeah.
As long as it's organized enough that I know what I'm watching before I go into it. So I'm not going to watch the whole 45-minute VOD. I'm going to skip through things. Especially like League, I'm not going to watch the laning phase necessarily, all of it. I might watch a little bit. I'm not going to watch the buy round of Valorant match, something like that. But video content is the best way for most directors to see what your student's all about, and then they'll talk to you about anything else. So that would be the biggest point. Yeah.
Do you prefer, you said that you like having VODs with the students with communication. Do you prefer highlight reels, or do you prefer those slightly longer VODs, or like kind of like a mixture of the two?
I would say a mixture of the two, leaning maybe like a 60-40 on the full VOD.
Okay.
Mainly because the communication part of things is the most important for me. How they're interacting with their teammates, how they're thinking about the game. Those are things that I look for. Highlights are nice to see, but not the end of the deal.
I don't have, I guess I sort of have a question, but it relates to a student 2 years ago. He did the esports state championship. A lot of the things you were talking about, like location, really factored into his college choice. He ended up going to Wichita, Kansas, because they had a bowling program too. And the competition down there, because it's so much more centralized and a lot bigger, he was unable to actually get on the college team, even though he was at state here. And so, is there, like, before joining the school, is there a way that students can meet up with teams and practice and see how good they are compared to college players?
That's probably a case-by-case basis. I think, like if a student wanted to like try out before they're really trying out, that's kind of, it's not something I've dealt with before, but I have had students ask me to provide watch a practice before. If they want to play with the team and see how they compare, then I would say it's probably best either right away to be, well, not right after their season ends, because we're going to keep practicing, but just not as often. Like we're practicing usually twice a week during the season. We might practice over Christmas break twice, because it's their break, give them time away. One thing that I didn't mention is college seasons are different. You guys start like November and then end in February. We start in September, go into mid-November, and then we start again in February, go through. So we're all year. Just so the students are aware of that. It's kind of it is different school to school. I know one school in Nebraska, they do certain games in the fall, certain games in the spring, so they're not all in here for everybody, but that also gives them an opportunity to be more than one. To go back to your question, I would say, yeah, at the end of the season, it's probably the best. Because then they're not, the college students aren't necessarily preparing for anything. Um, and they are more likely to be able to bring something in. Another thing that I've thought about doing is just set up a script with them. Then your team can really see how you prepare. Because there are going to be teams that, high school teams, are going to whoop, honestly, because esports success isn't that high of a priority. Players are not that strong. But if a student wants to go there, they can find out, oh, I have a much different mentality with players here. Like I want to go top tier as high as I can. The school doesn't prioritize that. So, gotcha. Any other questions?
What's a good way to make or to help students make a choice in terms of what games to play in college? Because I know that, like Augustana, you guys prioritize one game per student, correct? Am I?
I prefer that.
Yeah.
It's not a necessity.
Well, because I know one of my students is going to Augustana this next year, who just
Justin,
graduated.
right?
Justin.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I remember talking.
yeah. So and we had multiple discussions at the end of this last school year of, oh, does he sign up for Marvel Rivals or does he sign up for Super Smash Bros? And we went back and forth on it a lot, and ultimately I was like, at the end of the day, it is your choice, but I mean, I want you to be successful in both, but it is what it is, kind of thing. So I think he ended up picking Smash, if I remember correctly. Is
Rivals.
Is he Rivals?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a specific case mainly because the league that we're playing in, Smash and Rivals, are on the same night.
Oh, okay. So I guess that makes more sense then.
Yeah, so we're competing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day of the week. Those two games happen to be the only two that we compete in. If you wanted to do League of Legends, you could totally.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then also I don't really like to push them to do more than one, because if they're practicing 4 times a week, plus 2 matches, plus any other games that they're playing on top of all of their studies, they're going to burn out quick.
Yeah.
They need to have a
healthy work balance kind of thing.
Healthy balance of things. So, all right. You guys have any think of any other questions? I'm going to be here for probably a little bit after the next panel, but you can always shoot me an email, send me a text message. If you ever have any questions or want to pitch a student to me, I know I'll be talking to all of you guys in the fall about coming to visit. So, right. Thank you, guys.
Can you go back to show your email again?
I don't think I put it on there.
Oh, okay.
But I can. It's chris.knutson@argy.edu. So first dot last.
Gotcha.
All right. Thank you, guys.